Hey folks, so I just had a couple of things I wanted to talk about in this video real quick. Part of what I do on this YouTube channel, not the only thing I do, but a big part of what I do is I function as a critic. I review Star Trek episodes and movies, and every once in a while I'll do a movie review of something else. Like a few months ago now, actually, I did a review of the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie because I had just seen it and I had some thoughts that I thought would be of interest to people. And I just started doing what I think is probably going to end up being a weekly video to come out on Saturday or Sunday about the new AEW Collision pro wrestling show. And I'll be sort of acting as a critic in that and reviewing the show and, talking about what I think worked and what I think didn't. And so nobody hired me. I don't work for a newspaper or a website or, a TV network or whatever. I sort of made myself a critic and decided on my own to do that. But that's what I am when I'm making those videos. That's the function that I'm fulfilling. I'm a critic. I'm a movie critic, a TV critic, what have you. And I got a comment on the most recent video that my buddy Jason and I did reviewing the first episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, because Jason and I are going to be doing the same thing with this new season of Strange New Worlds that we did with the third season of Star Trek Picard, where we will wait until Saturday when we can both do it, and we'll get on a Zoom call together and we will watch the new episode together, and then we will, right after that, we'll record a review of the episode we just watched, where we both offer our thoughts about the episode. And that seemed to work really well for the third season of Picard, and we're going to do that for Strange New Worlds as well. And there was a comment left by someone on the most recent one of those for episode 1 of season 2 of Strange New Worlds, where they said, I prefer your reviews of season 1 of Strange New Worlds because they were a lot more positive. It's like you allowed yourself to just like the show. Like you weren't being super critical. You just allowed yourself to like the show. And I've been thinking about that for a couple of days since I first saw that comment. And I want to make it clear, I'm not trying to go after the person who left this comment. I don't think it was meant in bad faith or bad taste or to try to be argumentative or offensive or anything. Thank you. I can't remember who you are right now who left that comment, but thank you for the comment and thank you for your thoughts and your observations. But I just want to make it clear. First of all, yes, I was extremely positive about Strange New Worlds Season 1. I didn't review those with Jason. I reviewed those more traditionally, where I would watch the episode and then write a review and record like a pre-scripted review of it. I was very, very high on Strange New Worlds Season 1. I thought it was fantastic. And, I didn't give a bad review to any of the 10 episodes of Season 1, but that's not because I was letting myself enjoy it. It's not because I was approaching it uncritically. When I'm functioning as a critic, when I'm reviewing something, I am always approaching it critically, whether I like it or whether I don't. The reason why I gave very positive reviews to all 10 episodes of Strange New Worlds, and in a few cases, like extremely positive reviews, like this is one of the best Star Trek episodes in, 20 or 30 years type positive reviews, is because that's what I really thought. I was still looking at it critically. I was still examining it and sort of interrogating it in my mind and thinking about, okay, does this work for me? Does this not work for me? And why? Which is a critic's job. That's what a critic essentially does. Is you experience the thing that you're reviewing. You watch the movie or the TV show or listen to the music or read the book or whatever, and then you articulate what you think of it, what it made you think, what it made you feel, what your reaction was to it. Do you think it worked? Do you think it didn't work? Why? That's what a critic does. And that's what I did for season 1 of Strange New Worlds. That's what I do for my Star Trek retro reviews. That's what I do for my movie reviews. That's what I do for everything where I'm reviewing something. And what I tell you in those reviews is honestly what I think about the thing I'm reviewing. I'm not turning up my dislike of it or turning up my like of it. I'm not calculating my reaction or what I'm saying in the review because I think people will like it more if I'm more positive, or they'll like it more, I'll get more views if I'm more negative. I don't do that. I've never done that. It is absolutely fatal to a critic who wants to be taken seriously and wants their opinions to be treated with respect to ever do that. And Jason is the same way. Jason and I have co-hosted a movie review podcast for years and years now, Late Seating, where we review movies together. And Jason is the same way. When Jason gives something a positive review, that's because that's what he really thinks. When Jason gives something a negative review, that's because that's what he really thinks. So Jason was more negative on the new episode of Strange New Worlds than I was. I gave it kind of a mixed review. I wasn't super thrilled about it, but I didn't hate it. But Jason was a lot more negative than I was. And that's because that's what he actually thought. We watched the episode and that was his reaction. And the reaction I shared in the video was my sincere reaction. I'm not a cheerleader. And I'm not a professional hater. I'm not going into the episode saying, oh boy, I'm going to find all the negative stuff about this that I can talk about and really blow that up and give it a really nasty, negative, cutting review, right? And at the same time, I'm not saying, well, I'm going to go in and watch this and find all the positive stuff and just accentuate that and focus on that. And if there's any negative stuff, I'm just not going to mention that because I want to stay positive. I don't do that. Other people do that. That's fine. Other people do the negative stuff. I wish they wouldn't do that, because when you really focus on the negative and accentuate that, then I think that creates a much more toxic audience and a toxic environment in which your content lives. And I don't care for that. In addition to the, lack of credibility of the criticism itself. But there are people in the Star Trek fandom, there are people in, big, long-standing fandoms of all kinds that feel like it's their job to be a cheerleader for the content. It's their job to be a cheerleader for the new episodes or the new movies. And all they do is publish reviews where they just focus on the positive and they celebrate it. And if that's what they choose to do, that's fine. That's not what I choose to do. I choose to function as a critic. And if I say I like something, if I say I think something is great, that's because that's what I think. Because I watched it and that was my honest opinion of it. If I give a review of something and I say this is lousy, that's because that's honestly what I think. And if I give a review that's more in the middle, or say, well, some of this worked and some of this didn't, that's because that's what I actually think. I'm not pitching it toward any particular audience. I'm not aiming for any particular reaction from the audience. Gene Siskel said that the most essential credential of any critic is that people believe that that's what you actually think. And if I don't have that, then my criticisms and my reviews are useless. The only real use of a movie review, a TV review, a review of anything is, well, there's a couple uses, but it's completely useless if you don't believe that the critic actually means what they say. Critiques and reviews are useful for people who have not watched the thing or have not bought the album or have not gone to see the movie or have not read the book, because they find particular critics whose taste more or less lines up with theirs and they think, is it worth buying a ticket to go see this movie? Well, Steve and I usually agree. Let me see what Steve says about it. Is it worth subscribing to Paramount Plus to watch this new Star Trek show? Well, Steve and I are usually on the same page about stuff in terms of what we like and dislike. So let me see what he says. And if he thinks it's garbage, then I'll probably not get it. If he thinks it's great, then maybe I'll check it out. That's one very practical use for a critic, right? You find the ones that mostly agree with you and you follow their advice. You use them as kind of a guide to decide what you watch, to kind of curate the many, many possibilities that are out there for what you can, take for your entertainment. And the other use is that criticism can spark conversation and can give you things to think about, that can offer you alternative ways of thinking about a book or a movie or a show or any other piece of art that maybe you didn't think about, that can offer you a view of that piece from another perspective, from another experience. And it can foster thought and conversation. And that can be fun. And that can be engaging. And that can be enriching in many, many ways. So it's useful for that as well. And just in general, it can just be fun to talk about movies or talk about TV shows and argue about it good-naturedly, not viciously, not violently, not hatefully, but, with respect. Critics aren't here to tell us what is good and bad, because that's not the way it works. There's no such thing as an objectively good movie and an objectively bad movie. if I say that the new Strange New Worlds episode is great and Jason says the new Strange New Worlds episode is lousy, neither one of us is objectively correct or incorrect. It's a matter of taste. It's a matter of opinion. And some people will agree with Jason. Some people will agree with me. Some people will come into the middle and say, well, you both make good points, but there's also stuff about both of your opinions that I disagree with. It's all a matter of taste. It's all a matter of opinion. So a critic's job is not to be a standard and to say, aha, I declare that, The Godfather is a good movie and, Dumb and Dumberer is a bad movie, right? Now, that may be the consensus opinion, right? Most people do believe that The Godfather is a great movie and Dumb and Dumberer is a lousy movie. But that doesn't mean those are objectively true. Somebody might think that actually The Godfather is a piece of shit and Dumb and Dumberer, the lesser known, far less appreciated sequel to Dumb and Dumber, is actually a masterpiece and a misunderstood jewel that has been unjustly, discarded by popular culture. They might think that. They're not wrong. I disagree with them, but that doesn't mean they're objectively wrong. That's not a critic's job. That's not what a critic does. So I just felt like putting out a video to clarify that, to make that point, to remind everybody the way I see this and the way I approach this. And I think I can speak for Jason, even though he and I don't often share the same opinion. We disagree with each other a lot in terms of what we like and dislike, even with something like Star Trek that we are in general both huge fans of. But I think we both approach this in a similar way, which is a critic's job is to tell you what they honestly think about the thing they're reviewing. And if you can't trust that it's their honest opinion, then their review is useless. So I don't want my reviews to be useless. I want people to trust that whether you agree with me or you disagree with me, when I give you a review of a show or a movie or whatever, that's honestly what I think. And it's not because I turned off my brain and just allowed myself to like something. And it's not because I decided ahead of time I was going to hate it. I don't do that. I'm not saying I don't have biases. I'm not saying that, I don't have, that I don't bring anything from the outside into the review. We all do that. We can't help that. But to the best of my ability, I am giving you my honest take on the thing I'm reviewing. And just because I give it a positive review, that doesn't mean I was not being critical. And just because I give it a negative review, that doesn't mean I was being hypercritical and I refuse to see any of the good parts. Okay? So anyway, thank you for watching this and listening to this. We will be reviewing episode 2 of Strange New Worlds coming up this weekend. I know the new episodes drop on Thursdays, but Jason and I do our reviews on Saturdays, so look for that coming up later this week. And thanks so much to everybody for paying attention to this and for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.